The instant I heard the frantic pounding on my front door, sharp, relentless, like a trapped animal clawing to get out, I knew trouble had arrived. I swung it open and there he stood, my own brother, looking half wild. Hair sticking out in every direction, white puffs of breath exploding from his mouth in the freezing night air. Eyes so wide they seemed ready to roll out of his head. He didn't greet me, didn't offer a single word of explanation. He only spat. "You destroyed everything I had." The irony almost made me laugh. I hadn't destroyed a thing. I had merely quit patching the endless holes he kept ripping in his own life. I said nothing, just let the winter wind whip between us while the silence grew heavy enough to bruise. He stared at me as though he'd never seen me before, and in a way he hadn't. The man he was facing now was the one he himself had forged piece by careful piece, over years of careless cruelty. Watching him shiver on my doorstep dragged me straight back to the exact moment the shift had happened. When the boy I once worshipped turned into the man who showed me how sweet, how perfectly silent revenge can feel. There had been a time when he looked at me like I hung the moon. We were small then, crammed into the same sagging house, flinching at the same drunken shouting, trading secrets in the dark between our bunk beds. He swore we'd break free together. He would be the golden child everyone adored. I would be the quiet brain who figured everything out, and together we'd outrun the past. For years we actually managed it. I carried him through classes he never studied for. He taught me how to smile when smiling felt impossible. Even after he grew up, got married, started a family, I kept telling myself blood was thicker than disappointment. So I sent money when paychecks fell short, handled every crisis he created, made certain his kids never tasted the panic that used to keep us awake at night. I never called it charity. It was simply love transferred in quiet installments, favor after favor. But love, given too freely for too long, can twist into something a person uses as a ladder while pretending it's a leash. That December evening everything finally snapped into focus. I had asked casually what time I should come over for Christmas. His wife let out a brittle, too loud laugh. He gave me that mean, liquor-loose grin he wears when he feels untouchable. "Maybe stay home this year," he said, flicking his hand like I was a stray dog. "We want real family time. No room for dead weight." He laughed it off as a joke the second the words left his mouth, but his eyes stayed cold, and nobody at the table rushed to smooth things over. I saw the quick look that passed between him and his wife, embarrassment, irritation, and underneath it all the smug certainty that I would always be there to clean up whatever mess they made. Something inside my ribs cinched tight, not from the insult I'd survived worse, but from the blinding realization that I had never been a brother to them, only a walking emergency fund. I left without raising my voice. He didn't try to stop me. That silence on his part said more than any apology ever could. I didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't send a single dramatic text. I simply closed the account, both the literal one and the emotional one, and stepped out of the way. Reality, I discovered, is an excellent teacher when you stop intercepting its lessons. The collapse came faster than I expected. First a late mortgage notice, then overdue daycare bills, then frantic messages from his wife written in the careful tone people use when they suddenly remember you have feelings. When politeness failed, the tone turned sharp, demanding, furious. I read every one and answered none. Then came the phone call, her voice trembling. He had exploded, blamed me for everything, threatened to drive to my house and make me fix this. I told her, perfectly calm, to dial 911 if she felt threatened. The silence on the other end of the line was the sound of someone realizing the game had changed forever. 2 hours later he was on my porch, shaking with rage and terror in equal measure. The words poured out of him like poison he'd been holding too long. "You're supposed to take care of me. That's what family does." I tilted my head, almost curious. "Oh? So now I'm family again." The flinch that crossed his face was worth every unpaid bill. I took one slow step forward, voice low enough that he had to strain to hear me over his own ragged breathing. "You stood in your kitchen in front of your wife and your children, and called me a loser. You made it crystal clear I was an embarrassment you tolerated only when my wallet was open. Remember that." He opened his mouth. I didn't let him. "I didn't ruin your life. I stopped paying for it. You confused my kindness with obligation and my patience with cowardice." His chest heaved like he'd been running for miles. I leaned in just enough to make sure the last words landed clean. All this anger you feel? It isn't really at me. It's at the mirror I finally stopped holding up for you. He rocked back as if I'd driven my fist into his stomach. Truth has that kind of weight when you've spent years dodging it. Without another sound he turned, stumbled down the steps, and folded himself into his car. I watched the reverse lights come on, watched him drive away with shoulders hunched against a burden that was finally, completely his own. I stayed on the porch long after his taillights disappeared. The cold felt clean, almost kind. Guilt never showed up. Not even a whisper of it. Only a deep, steady lightness, the kind you feel when you set down something you didn't realize you've been carrying for decades. Family isn't a blood type. It's a choice renewed every single day through respect freely given and returned. The instant he decided mine was optional, he lost the right to it. Sometimes the cruelest thing you can do to someone who has taken you for granted is nothing at all. Just step aside and let the life they built without effort finally teach them how to stand. Now, for the first time, he gets to learn the way I did. On his own 2 feet, with no one left to catch him when he falls.